Hello, my name is Tony Cochrane.
And I'm Jane.
We've been here since December 2015, and we bought the house together with a plot of land at the back which butts onto St Andrew Street South, which was a car park in those days. The car park was at around about 8 feet higher than the terrace around the house, and we had an idea of what we wanted to do. We certainly wanted to have a garden, and the only way to have the garden was to be innovative with the parking. I think it's true to say, although we both contributed big time to the garden, I spent more time on the architectural side of figuring out how we could do everything, and despite the fact that I was an engineer, we have, amongst all the straight lines, managed to get some curves.
And what was there at the back of the house was a little courtyard with a square of astroturf, and in place of the green astroturf we actually put in a little pond, but it's a plant pond, it's not a fish pond. So that's the difference. It's all part of the garden, it's part of the green space and the flowers and the variety that we have in the garden. This bed, the centre bed, we wanted to have a lot of white and bright colour in it, and we've got the white Everest alliums and the purple ones with the, I think it's erythmium, popping up there. But the roses are the Macmillan Nurse roses. We've got the pink roses behind them. We've got some dahlias and some lavender. Lavender doesn't mind what you do to it, as long as you don't look after it, seems to thrive. So that's perfect for a town garden. The olive tree in the middle, that's our garden sculpture, living sculpture, and it's really rather an old tree, a couple of 100 years old at least. So and it had to be craned over the wall, and my husband dug a wonderfully big hole, and I saw him disappearing into it. He got lower and lower. But we filled it full of compost and water, and then we put the 1 ton, 300-year-old tree, dropped into the hole. So we had to get it upright, because if we hadn't, we wouldn't have been able to straighten it ever again.
I was looking online several years ago now for a suitable ruin, a little folly, and I came across the people who make these tracery windows here. Given the building blocks of the tracery windows, which come in different forms, different designs and different sizes, pretty well. They are, you can look almost like a jigsaw puzzle. It seems to go nicely with the higgledy-piggledy stone walls that we've inherited here.
We've got Gertrude Jekyll roses, the delphiniums in the front, and then the allium Everest, the nice white sort of snowballs of flower. When we lived in Long Melford, we had a very good neighbour, didn't we, who was a wonderful gardener. She was a great star in our lives anyway, and she continues to be in our garden.
She'd like it here.
She would. She would.
We fashioned these little, they're no longer islands, they're little peninsulae now, but they were islands using polystyrene and shade cloth.
And I sewed them with myself on the sewing machine.
Yeah. And then the wind used to blow them around because we had a fountain here. And then on one occasion, the island knocked over the fountain. And we've just left it because it's just creating a motion and the lily leaves don't like splashing.
No.
So it's just a wonderful combination that just happens to be. And as a result of all this moving around, we decided to anchor all these little islands. There are about 4 of them. We decided that lilies are such a wonderful thing, and we bought some additional ones, and they are coming along very nicely now.
Yes, and the Marsh Marigolds, they have been lovely. They've been a mass of yellow, like little dots of sunshine that have just dropped into the pond. Absolutely wonderful. They're on the way out now, but they're being taken over by the pink brigade, really. But they were the first things to come out, and just masses of bright yellow. They're terribly easy to grow, and they don't seem to worry about anything, really. We wanted an easy care pond, really. We don't want the weeds, do we? We just want
the birds
colour.
Come and have a bath.
Oh, they do. The birds. They like the little islands because they can just get their feet wet and then have a dip, and we see all sorts of splashing round. We don't need a fountain, really, do we? The birds supply all the moving water.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know, we just let things take care of itself, really, most of the time, don't we? I'll start from the Philadelphus in the pot over there, because it was another one of our mistakes, actually. We bought 3, but for a small garden like this, we really didn't need 3. So we hoiked one out of the ground and shoved it in a pot, put lots of mulch with it and lots of water with it, and it seems to be reasonably happy in a pot, which is where it's going to stay. And then the valerian is another one of my favourite weeds because it does have a function. It's very colourful and very pretty, and against a brick wall, you know, why not? It grows for free out of the bricks, so why wouldn't you love it? At the end of the season, I just cut it straight back, and it just comes back regular as clockwork. But it does add something to the garden, especially here in the lower branches of the big iceberg rose, where all you can see is branches and thorns, and the valerian just pops through and adds some colour along with the clematis. This one is called Benikomichi. It's a ground-loving one, and the idea is that it's sort of is low on the ground and it's going to drop over the edge of the sleepers, so it hasn't quite done that yet, but it's working on it. It's getting there. The wisteria was here when we moved in, and we have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this one, don't we? It's mostly love for me and hate for you. But anyway, Tony, it is a lovely flower, yes. It's a white one, which is slightly unusual, because the blooms are much longer, much more pendulous. So they hang down into the roses and the bright peonies. The peonies came from our home in Long Melford. We hadn't really got anywhere to put them while the garden was being developed, so we just put them in the ground, just where they are, and they haven't moved since. But they seem to be quite happy. Yes, the Pink Sisters was a little purchase from the market a couple of years ago. It was a tiny little plant, and I just shoved it in a space, and it seems to have taken off and be rather happy. Behind that there's some lavender. But these heat-loving plants are good to have at the front, falling over the sleepers, because they add a bit of shade for the roots at the back, especially those standard roses, which are Princess Anne, a pair of Princess Anne standard roses. We've put some ajuga at the back there, which is, again, another nice blue one. My idea was to team it up with some rather nice limey green euphorbia, but it seems to have all got swallowed up in the leaves. A few encouraging shots for those people who are worried about getting out in their garden and having all this to do. I hope people are not put off by the fact that a garden's a lot of work, because it's as much work as you let it be, you know. You can just let the weeds grow, and some of them are really awfully pretty. The hostas, yes, well, they just love a shady dark area, and they provide a really interesting view from the kitchen window and the back door on what's otherwise a very dull courtyard. And of course, because they're on a courtyard terrace, it means that the slugs don't like crawling over that, so they tend to leave your hosta leaves alone. But our pride and joy is a little tiny one over there which looks absolutely nothing, and it's called mouse ears, and that in fact is all it is. It's just like mouse ears, very tiny. It doesn't look much in a garden, but the rats can't get into it. And this is our compost bin, and it's called a hot box. And all it is a polystyrene box with a lid, and you can open the lid and put in all your garden rubbish. Yes, yeah, I'll open the lid. Everything, even bits of paper, and I've actually even put an old pillow in there. All the feathers, and they've all decomposed, and they're all going back on the garden again. All the kitchen scraps go in there, but the most important thing is in the middle of a town where you don't have enough room for a compost bin, and even if you do, you probably don't want to leave an open compost bin because of the rats. It's completely enclosed, and the rats can't get to it. But we've found it a great addition to our garden. We have a lot of neighbours here. We have a lot of windows looking onto our garden. So we feel it's rather nice to feel that it's not just us that's benefiting from this green space. It's a lot of other people as well. And I think when you've lived in a city or a town for a long time, your eye longs to look out the window and see something green. So I hope that it's not just a pleasure to us, but it's a pleasure to my neighbours as well.
On behalf of everyone at St Nicholas Hospice Care, we would like to thank you for watching our videos. Over the last year, due to the COVID pandemic, we have not been able to fundraise in the way that we have done previously, as shops have been closed and many of our events have had to be cancelled. So if you are able to give £5 or whatever you can afford, we would be most grateful. Thank you.